Goeiedag almal, dis Juffrou Nagel. Hi everyone, it's Juffrou Nagel. Today we're going to look at the Eerste bedryf of Fiela se kind. So we're going to look at the first act of Fiela se kind. So what I did is I took out important quotes, I added page numbers, I mentioned things that are important, the characters, and I'll do this for all three of the acts, obviously just starting with the first one. You need to have read the first act to sort of understand what's going on. I don't mention everything that happened in the first act. So yeah, let's go. So die eerste bedryf toneel 1, so the first scene. So the first person we get introduced to, the first character is Elias, okay? And what I just want you to keep in mind is we get exposed sort of to who he really is as a person. Like, he shows straight up who he is. He's a horrible human. And we get more information about him personally and like his innermost thoughts through his monologues. And we start with his monologues, and just keep this in mind to contrast his monologues with Fiela's monologues. Okay. So Elias se monoloog, hy fokus op hoe hy sy eie lewe kan verbeter of meer geld kan maak, maar hy doen self nie baie nie, so kort baie. So it just says like he focuses on his own, like how he can improve his own life, how he can make more money, but he doesn't actually do anything. Like, he's literally pretending sort of like to hold the one like tool in his hand when his wife Barta comes to bring him coffee. So he's always sort of looking for shortcuts. He never really wants to do the really hard work. And that's just one of the things that he says in one part of his monologue. He says, 'n man sukkel tot sy kinders die dag groot genoeg is om te kan help, maar ek sal nou nog lank sukkel. So he's basically saying that a man struggles and suffers until his kids are old enough to actually help. And this is important. Like, Elias basically doesn't want his kids to sort of lead their own life. They literally have to work to improve his life. Okay, not necessarily their own. Like, they're not really benefiting from the things they have to do, but he's benefiting from it. So, like, he really is not a good person. And these are the characters we get introduced to in the beginning. So we get introduced to Elias van der Rooyen, the dad, Bartha van der Rooyen, the mom, Willem Christoffel, sons, Nina, we just, like, she's spoken about because she's still a baby. She doesn't actually speak at this point. She's still, like, being breastfed, so she's very small. Nina van der Rooyen is the daughter. And then we also, like, obviously Lucas van der Rooyen. And this is the thing, like, with this character, he's the main character, and he sets the whole thing in motion. Because remember, he's missing, and they're looking for him. And so we also don't actually hear him speak, but we hear of him. And then the other people that are mentioned are people who help them, okay, and who live sort of in the same area of the bush. So it's Mali, Tant Gertjie, Sophie, Martiens, David, Constable. And then we also have a stem or band, so a recorded voice. And this always gives us, like, important extra, like, gee vir ons extra belangrike inligting. They give us extra information. So at this point, it's almost like the whole stage would freeze and you would hear, like, the recorded voice. And a lot of the times, this recorded voice, like in this scene specifically, it gives us extra information. But in some of the other scenes, we actually hear the inside thoughts of the characters, because it would be the character's voice, the recorded voice. Okay, but in this scene, it just gives us extra information, basically about what happened to Lucas after he went missing. And the plek we are in is the Bosselwoud, the Knysna Bos more specifically. Okay, so stem op band. Op die 8ste dag is Lucas steeds nie gevind nie. So on the 8th day after Lucas went missing, he still hasn't been found. Okay, keep in mind this child's very young. He's like 3 years old. Okay, so after 8 days, the chances of survival, let's be honest, in the bush, where there are a bunch of animals. Remember, they referred to the olifante, the elephants, as grootvoete. You know, and like they even talk about like how some kids have been killed in the bush by the elephants. The elephant steps on them and stuff like that. So the chances of survival are quite slim. So stem op band. 7 maande later, Augustus van 1865, het die groot reën gekom en kort daarna die boswagter kom sê dat die hele dele van 'n kleinerige kind se geraamte langs die Goeie rivier tussen opdrifsels gekry het. Dit kon ook 'n Bobbejaanssin gewees het. So it says 7 months afterwards. And this is the first time we sort of get an indicator of the time that this is happening in, saying it's in 1865. And the rain came and they found like the skeletal remains of what looked like a small child, but the last sentence says it could also have been a baboon's skeletal remains. So the stem op band vertel vir ons die gehoor wat met Lucas gebeur het. So the recorded voice tells us, the audience, a gehoor is an audience, what happened to Lucas. Daar is tog onsekerheid oor die identiteit van die geraamte, en hierdie onsekerheid speel moontlike rol in Bartha se aksies. There's some uncertainty though about the identity of the skeleton, like, the bones that was there. Because that last sentence says it could have been a child, it could have been a baboon. And there's a small possibility that this uncertainty plays like a role in Barta's actions, like her actions in the future. So now we're going to toneel 2, scene 2. Fiela's eerste monoloog. Okay, so now we get introduced to the Goeie family, and we have Fiela's first monologue. Sy praat oor hul omstandighede met en oor die Here, oor stelling en sê dat hulle nie baie nie lange kloof het nie, maar dat die Here daarom volstrys daar gelos het. So she talks about like their circumstances, she talks with and about God, about selling her husband, and she says that they don't have a lot in the Lange Kloof, so that's the area they live in. But at least God left the ostriches there. So waarom die liewe Here behaag het om die eislike gebergte, soos 'n hindernis, tussen die Lange Kloof en genade toe kom neersit, so net die Here alleen weet. So she's just saying like, only God would know why he made it so difficult to access other things from like the Lange Kloof, if that makes sense. So it's not easy for them to get into the bush. There's like a massive mountain separating like the bush of Nagel and the Lange Kloof. But she's still like, you'll see now, like she's spoken to God a few times. She's a very religious person. Okay, and their family is very religious. And I think that plays a big role in why Fiela is the way that she is. So die plek is die Lange Kloofs. Like I said, that's the area they live in. Okay, and here Fiela talks about her husband selling. Veel is selling nie meer nie. Die swakte het hom ingeneem, maar sy hande kan nog werk. So he's quite ill and he can't really do as much as he did before, but he can still work with his hands. And he can still help the family by making some things by hand. And now Fiela talks about Benjamin. And Benjamin's obviously a very important character in this book. It's also the main character. So die kind wat al ewig met sy skei te doenig is. Al wat 'n stukkie hout is, moet gedurig uitgehol word vir 'n skeitjie. So this is really important because she talks about Benjamin loves like to basically make small little rowing boats or any like sort of boats all the time whenever he gets a piece of wood. And this is really important for what Benjamin gravitates towards in the last act, in Act 3. So just keep that in mind. And now this is the point where these two white men, they were approaching like where they live, the Wolwekraal, and Fiela's just talking to them. So wat is baas hulle se besigheid? Census. Wat is dit? Die regering gaan al die mense in die land laat tel. Ons begin so lank hier in die kloof. So just this is important to immediately see like the power relations, and the power relations plays a very big role in the story. Fiela calls them boss, okay, and we know obviously back in the day with segregation and with apartheid, a way to sort of like indicate that I don't know why people are superior, although they aren't, is to say that boss, call them boss, saying like they're higher than the other people. And this is why I'm saying it's important to realize like the power relations. And this tall guy, so they don't even give him her name, but he's a tall guy, and he just says that they're here to do census, so they're basically counting, the government's counting the amount of people in the country, and they're starting in the kloof. So these are the characters we get introduced to. We have the Goeie family. So we have Fiela, the mom, selling the dad, David, son, Tolly, son, Emma, sister, Kitty, sister, Benjamin, very important character, brother, and then we have the Lange and the Dikke. So that's how they refer to these two census guys, by calling them the tall one, the Lange, and the Dikke, the fat one. And now this is the first time where we sort of get introduced to like some tension that might be building up, like Fiela now is the first time we sort of like see that she's stressing a little bit, because she says this like obviously not out loud, it's the recorded voice. The opband means it's a recorded thing. So as die wyfie net wil uitbreek en weghol, sodat die kinders moet agterna. As Benjamin se skei net wil wegdryf, sodat hy moet aanhou soek en wegbly van die huis af. So she basically just says like she wishes that the ostrich, the girl, she runs away, and that the kids have to go and look for the ostrich, or that Benjamin's little boat floats away in the water so that he looks for it. And she specifically mentions Benjamin and says that he needs to stay away from the house. So this is important on page 15. Fiela laat weer die censusmanne dat hierdie haar grond is. Die Wolwekraal was aan haar pa gelos en is nou hare. So the Wolwekraal is like the little area, like the house, the property that they live on. That's the Goeie's property's name. So the area they live in is the Lange Kloof, but like their property is named the Bolwerkrol. Okay? And Fiela lets the census guys know, like, this is my property, like I own it. It's not like it is someone else's. It was left to my dad, and then my dad left it to me. And then once again we have Fiela talking on the recorded voice. Here, hou Benjamin weg van die huis af. So now we get an important question. Why is it just Benjamin that actually has to stay away from the house? Why does Fiela not want the census guys to see Benjamin? Okay, so it just says, hoekom moet net Benjamin wegbly? Hoekom wil Fiela nie hê die census manne moet Benjamin sien nie? And then also, when they're asking for the date of birth for the census, Fiela reads all the kids and Selling's like dates of birth. Well, Selling doesn't really remember his date of birth, but she reads everyone's date of birth from the Bible. But when it comes to Benjamin's, she makes it up. Okay, so they're just like, is the question, hoekom maak sy of sy geboortedatum in haar Bible geskryf is? So why does she pretend that Benjamin's date of birth is in her Bible? So this is the point where Benjamin actually appears, and the census guy sees Benjamin. Okay, and this is what Fiela says, the recorded voice. And this is so important. I mean, if you contrast this to basically anything that Elia says, Fiela says, Here, vat dan alles wat ek het, vat die hele lot, maar moenie vir Benjamin vat nie. So she says, God, you can basically take everything I have, but please don't take Benjamin. Okay, so her kids are so important to her, more so than any money and than any material possessions. Okay, and this is important. So you have to ask yourself like the question, we find out now why it's a problem, why she wanted Benjamin to specifically stay away. So die census manne het 'n probleem met die situasie omdat die kind wit is. Tema van ras en ongelykheid kom na vore. The reason the census guys have a problem with Benjamin is because he's white. And Fiela's family, the Community family, they are colored. And this introduces the theme of race and inequality. Okay, so ras is race and ongelykheid is inequality. Because I asked this to my class as well. Would these census guys have cared if the child was any other race? Like if the child was colored, but not Fiela's biological child living with them? Would they have cared? No. They are caring because it is a white child. Okay. So then this is also important. Fiela noem Benjamin haar handskind. Sy verduidelik dat sy skat dat hy op 3 buite haar agterdeur was. So hy is nou 12, die census man en dink sy lief. So she just says like she calls Benjamin her handskind, which basically means like she raised him. So he's not her biological child, but she raised him. And she said she like sort of like guesses that he was about 3 when she found him at her back door. He was standing there, but he was still in really like good condition. So Fiela just still says like the mom who left him there left him with a purpose. Okay, but these census guys think that she's lying, and we're guessing that Benjamin is about 12 years old now. Okay, maar het jou nie die reg gegee om te hou nie. Dis 'n wit kind. Moes ek hom buite laat staan het. Moenie vir jou probeer slim hou nie, vrou. Jy het 'n wit kind op jou werf tussen jou ander kinders in die huis. En jy weet net so goed soos ek dat dit nie die regte ding is nie. So now this guy says, because Fiela explains the situation, and the tall guy's like, but you had no right to take this child because the child is white. So not because, he doesn't say because the child is not biologically yours. He says you shouldn't have taken the child into your house because he is white. Okay, so once again, race. And I mean, this tall guy plays a very important role, like later on as well. You'll see this guy's obviously on some sort of power trip as well. And Fiela then just asked, should I have let him stay outside? Like she did the right thing. She took the child in. And afterwards, she did go and tell, like, look for the magistrate, look for some officials to help her because she knows it's not her child. But when there was no solution, she kept the child and she gave him such a good life. Okay. And he just says, like, the tall guy, you have a white child on your property in between your other kids in your house, and you know that it's not the right thing. Okay. So once again, why would this tall white guy think it's not the right thing? Because of race. Okay. There's no other reason. And then this is really important. This is where like the tension or like the sort of intrigue in the thing picks up, the drama picks up even more. Die dikke vra vir die lange of hy kan onthou van die kind in die bos wat 9 jaar terug verlore geraak het. Die dikke dink dit is nie onmoontlik vir 'n kind van 3 om oor die berg tot by die Lange Kloof te kom nie. So the fact right now actually, like, he talks to the tall guy and he's like, do you remember that child that went missing in the bush about 9 years ago? And then the fat one basically says that he doesn't think it's impossible for a child of 3 to go through the bush, over the mountain, and get to the Lion Cliff. But also just remember, Fiela said when she got this child was in perfect like condition. Like his clothes weren't tattered and stuff like that. So, if a 3-year-old child did wander through the bush and over the mountain and made it, don't you think you would have seen it in his clothes? Don't you think you would have seen it like he would have been dirty and stuff like that? But Fiela said he was fine. And that's why she says like the mom left him, whoever left him there, the mom left him there on purpose. Okay, he didn't just stumble like over the freaking mountain and get there. And then they talk to Benjamin, okay, and they have a problem with the way Benjamin or what Benjamin calls them. Okay. So remember I told you boss is sort of an indicator of like a race relation and showing who has the power in this race relation. So you're Benjamin, a white child, okay? He says, my pa het my gehelp, baas. Die lange en die dikke kyk vinnig na mekaar oor die baas. So he says, my dad helped me, and he calls them boss. And the tall guy and the fat one looks at each other because they're quite shocked that a white child is calling other white people boss, okay? They don't have a problem with people of another color calls them boss, okay? But they, like, it's strange for them that a white child is calling them boss. So now this is also just important, okay? So this is now Fiela, her recorded voice. It says, Februarie, Maart, April voor winter. Dit is of die klip wat Februarie in my gaan lê het, ligter geword het. Ek het nie meer iedere oggend wakker geword nie en gedink, vandag is die dag wanneer hulle gaan terugkom. So it just says here that like a recorded voice, like a few months actually passed after these census guys were there and they said they would be back. So Fiela is just like, oh, they obviously forgot, like I feel so much lighter. They're not going to come back anymore. And then it's just important, just the names of the ostriches, because the family's very happy about the ostriches. Because this is the point where the ostriches, I think, like they dance or something, and it means they're going to mate and they're going to make ostrich babies. Okay. So the male ostrich name is Skopper, kikker, and the female's name is Polly. So die Kumuti familie gaan aan met hul lewens en is saam bly oor die volstryse. Hulle dink dat die censusmanne van Benjamin vergeet het. So the Kumuti family's going on with their lives. They're happy about the ostriches and they just like living their best lives. And they think that these census guys have forgotten about Benjamin. Okay, so they think now, okay, this is over, nothing is going to come of this. Okay, so now we're going to toneel 3. So now we're back at the Van Rooyen family. So Elias op band. Ek het hulle daar lank ingewag. Het die boom so gekaap dat as hulle daarteen aandruk, dan val hulle by die afgrond af en dan het ek door die dik geel-wit tande. So he's talking about what he did to try and get money. So the best way to get money in the bush is to kill the elephant and sell the ivory. And he talks about like how he waited for them for days. He sort of carved out the tree that if the elephant pushes against it, they will fall down like a small little hill and it would be easy for him to get their tusks. Okay? And this is actually also because he calls himself Van Rooyen. So this is actually the first time we hear someone talk about the Van Rooyen surname. And this is just also very important. So to ward off the elephants, okay, let me just read the Afrikaans first. So Elias het die kombers neergegooi toe hy weggehardloop het. Bartha is bekommerd want hulle het nie genoeg kombers nie, armoede. So Elias, basically when the elephants were there, like a lot of people in the bush, they say like you should throw down a piece of clothing or something and run away because the elephant would then like trample on that piece of clothing before they realized like there's no human there. So he threw down one of their like their blankets, but Bartha's really like concerned because that was one of their last good blankets. And this introduces like the theme of poverty with the Van Rooyen family. Like the Kumuti family, they don't have the most money, but the Van Rooyen family, like they're really worse off. People in the bush are not the wealthy people, okay? They're the poorer people of the society. And then this is the first time now after a few years that Nina actually talks, and Nina is also really like a very important character in the book. So Nina kom binne. Wat raas julle so? Daar sit die mooiste uil op die aftap en hy maak hoet 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 in sy krop. Net nou vlieg hy weg. Loop jaag hom, hy bring ongeluk. So Nina comes inside and she talks about birds, and this is really important. Nina loves nature and Nina loves birds specifically. And this is just important also once again later on in the story. And when she says there's an owl there and she's mimicking its sound, Bartha actually gets quite anxious and she's like, you need to chase the owl away because owls bring bad luck. Okay, so now the boswachter actually comes and he talks to Van Rooyen. He talks to their family And this is the point where we realize the census guys didn't forget about Benjamin. Okay, they were actually actively busy doing something about the Benjamin situation. So ja, daar bestaan 'n groot moontlikheid dat jou seun wat die slag weggeraak het, gevind is, lewend gevind is. So he's telling Elias that, there's a big chance that the child that your son that got lost once was found and that he was found alive. Elias, jy sê hulle het die kind in die lange kloof gekry, boswagter. Ja, by breinmense. Hy is glo al 9 jaar lank daar. So Elias says like, you found him in the lange kloof. And the boswagter says yes, with brown people. Okay, and then he's been there for like 9 years. So boswagter nog daar agter in die kloof, hulle laat hom môre haal. So this is important. Elias asks where he is, and they say he's still, like the boswagter says, he's still in the kloof, in the lange kloof, but they're going to fetch him tomorrow. Okay, so we know now this bubble has been burst of the Goeie family. They've been living their best life, just going on being a family, and the next day everything is just going to change. Okay, en B, hier is waar die gehoor die inligting kry dat hulle vir Benjamin gaan haal, maar die Goeie family weet dit tog nie. Die Goeie family het gedink die mans van Benjamin vergeet. So that's just what I said before. We get the information as the audience that they're going to fetch Benjamin tomorrow. So the Goeie family is unaware of this. And the plek here in toneel 3 is once again the bush, the bos. And now we're going to toneel 4. Kitty. Sê dis Benjamin se skuld. Sê dis hy wat in die seepot gestaan en roei het in plaas van roer. So they're just talking about the soap didn't come out as nice as it was supposed to. And Kitty, the sister, says we should blame Benjamin because instead of like stirring the pot for the soap, he was pretending to row. So once again, this whole idea of him being in water rowing comes into play. And like I said, this is important for like at the end of the book. And this is now like these census guys come back. Okay, so obviously the tension grows even more. Okay. Solange Mr. Goldsberry, die nuwe magistraat op Nysna, het ons gestuur, hy wil die kind sien. So he's just saying Mr. Goldsberry, he's the new magistrate at Nysna, and Mr. Goldsberry is the one who sent them back and said he wants to see the child. Die familie is heel rustig besig en dan verskyn die lange en dikke wat weer die spanning ophou. So before this, like they were quite calm, and then the lange and the dikke appears and it just like builds up the tension. So now the dikke just says when they want to see Benjamin. Oormôre, Vrydag. Mr. Goldsberry wil net die saak van die kind wat die slag in die bos weggeraak het opklaar. Dis al. Die ding sluit. Die ma van die kind sal ook Vrydag in die hof op Nysna wees. So now it's just saying like Benjamin has to be there in 2 days. Okay, on Friday. Because Mr. Goldsberry just wants to sort of finish this problem or this case that was there about the child that went missing in the bush. And they're actually saying this is also important to remember that Barta, like the other mom, is going to be there. Okay, they don't say that Fiela is allowed to be there with her child, but they're saying the other mom's going to be there, and they just want to like deal with this case and get it over and done with. So this is just the point where Fiela actually says that she will walk with him, because at first they said Fiela can't go with because there's no space in the car, and she's like, well, then we'll walk there. Die magistraat wil hom Vrydag in die hof sien, dis oormôre. Dit sal jou minstens 2 dae te voet neem om daar uit te kom, en met die kind nog langer. Nou verstaan ek Baas nie. Volgens Baas het hy, toe hy maar 3 jaar oud was, alleen oor die berge gekom tot hier, en nou dink Baas is te ver vir hom om te loop. So this is important. This whole one is like, the magistrate wants to see you on Friday. If you have to walk, it will take you 2 days, or with the child, it will take you longer. And Fiela's like, but listen, you basically said that when he was 3 years old, he came alone over the mountains, and now you're saying it's too far for him to walk. Like, what's happening? Why are you saying this? Fiela maak goeie punte oor hoe die census man hulle self weerspreek. So she's making really good points about like how these census guys are actually like contradicting themselves. Weerspreek is contradicts. So the plek hier again in toneel 4 is die lange kloof. Die census manne sê dat Fiela se die kind wegsteek. Hy gaan nie saam met hulle kerk toe nie, en hy gaan nie saam met die kinders skool toe nie. So now they're just saying, if Fiela didn't think it was a problem to have Benjamin, why did she sort of hide like Benjamin? That's what the census guys are saying. Because he doesn't go with them to church, and he doesn't go to school with the other kid. Okay. So this is really important little passage to remember for contrasting it with his life in the bush, okay, the life Benjamin's going to have in the bush. Ek leer hom van die Here. Tolly en David het hom geleer soos hulle in die skool geleer het, iedere middag. Dis by die steward, onder op die kruis, langs die winkel, het hom 2 middae in die week somme geleer, omdat Tolly en David self nie die somme altyd verstaan het nie. Benjamin kon hulle later van somme leer. So she's saying what they've done for the child. They've still provided the child with, being exposed to his religion, because Fiela teaches him about God. And then also, like, his brothers would teach him what they were taught at school. And then the things that they struggled with, specifically maths, Benjamin went to Miss Baby Stewart and she helped him. And he eventually got so good that he helped his brothers with maths. So although he didn't go to these places physically, he was still getting a good education. He was still getting a good life from the Goeie family. Die onderrigskool wat Benjamin in die Lange Kloof gekry het, is baie goed. Hy het baie goed geleer en is goed met wiskunde. So it's just really good education. And like I said, like that he got in the Lange Kloof. Remember to later on contrast that with the education he gets in the bush, okay, which is basically actually non-existent. Die Lange sê vir Selling dat die goed sleg vir die Goeie family by die magistraat gaan lyk oor Fiela se houding, 'n dreigement. So this is really important. And another reason, like I'm saying, especially this tall guy, oh, he's just the worst. And he would also be seen as an antagonist. No, you're not the main one, but definitely, like, this guy's not nice. But he basically sort of says, like, he's making a threat, and he's like, you know what, he tells Selling, your wife's attitude is so bad, the magistrate won't like that. So they're actually saying that your attitude's going to play a role in deciding where this child has to go, as opposed to actual evidence. And the tall guy knows this is like a power relation, and he knows that the Goeie family would be scared of that, because this tall guy would have the power to do something about that, although it's not fair at all. And then, like, after these guys go, like, Fiela makes a decision, and she's like, Benjamin gaan huis na toe. Selling sit sy hand op Benjamin se kop. En ma beloof jou, jy sal nie nodig hê om jou kop anderkant daardie berg te laat sak, omdat jy as 'n Goeie ingestaan geskryf in die government se boeke nie. So she just says, okay, Benjamin's going to Nice now. She just wants to clear this up. And Selling just puts his hand, like, lovingly on Benjamin's head. And the mom just says, like, I promise you, you won't be ashamed that you are seen as a Goeie. You won't be ashamed that your surname in the book of the government is Goeie. Like, you are proud, and you will be proud to be a Goeie. Okay? So this is really important. Fiela maak seker dat Benjamin die beste klere en skoene en sal aan hê wanneer hy voor die magistraat verskyn. So she's making sure that he's going to have the best clothes, the best shoes when he appears in front of the magistrate. She knows that the magistrate would sort of use anything against them. Okay, so she's making sure, I think she gets the best jacket. She gives him like 5 shillings, not to use, but just to show them if they want to know, does the Goeie family have money? They can be like, yes, we do have money. Like, they properly wash him, and, all these small things. So they're just doing everything to show that he has a good life with the Goeies, okay? Although he is like a white child, and for some other reason, these white sentence guys thinks that because he's with a colored family, can't have a good life. He does have a really good life with the Goeie family. Sy wil hê almal moet sien dat die Goeie familie baie goed na hom omsien, en dat hy gesond en gelukkig is. Sy weet die magistraat wil enigiets teen hulle wil gebruik om te wys dat Benjamin, 'n wit kind, nie saam met 'n bruin familie in 'n bruin gemeenskap moet wees nie. So just says Fiela knows that the magistrate would use anything they can against them to say that, like, to show that Benjamin, who's a white child, should not be living with a brown family in, like, a brown community. She knows that. Okay, Fiela berei Benjamin voor vir al die moontlike vrae wat die magistraat hom kan vra. Wie sy ouers is, waar hy woon, as hy skryf, dan moet hy op sy mooiste skryf, ensovoorts. So she's preparing him for everything they might ask him. She asked him a few times, who are your parents? Where do you live? And she says if they're going to check, because they're going to obviously bring up the schooling possibly, is show them that you can do maths. When you write, they write like your base handwriting, don't rush. So she knows, like, she's preparing him so that they can't use anything against them and say, like, he's not having a good life with the Goeie family. Benjamin, ma, ek is bang. Jaag weg die bang. En onthou om nie vir die magistraat baas te sê nie. Jy sê vir hom my heer. So she just says, like, Benjamin says he's scared, and Fiela just says chase away, like, this being scared, like, chase it away. And she just says, just remember not to call the magistrate boss, okay? But you'll call him my heer, which is basically like my sir. And then this is also a thing that they like, Fila never once obviously tried to pretend that Benjamin's a biological child. Okay? And this is just like talking about how Benjamin became Fila's child. So hoe het jy ma se kind gekom? Hoe het ma nou weer gesê, moet ek sê? Die Here het jou aan ma toe betrou. Die Here het my aan ma toe betrou. So that she's just asked, what did we say about like how did you become my child? And the answer is that God trusted me with you. God trusted Fila with his child. Why would he then appear like there are obviously other houses possibly in the Lange Kloof as well? Why specifically on the back door of Fila's house? Fila gee ook vir Benjamin 5 shillings, nie om te gebruik nie, maar om vir die magistraat te wys dat hulle wel geld het. Sodat hy kan sien die kommodies is nie koolgat nie. So this is just the 5 shillings. Like you shouldn't use it, but just to show that they're not like, they're not the wealthiest, but they're not poor. Like they have some things. Ek is bang, ma. Jaag weg die bang. Ma, sê nou hulle bring my nie weer terug nie. Die magistraat sal kyk dat hulle jou terugbring. Saterdag soos hulle gesê het, die magistraat se woord is wet. This is really important. He says it's scared and she's like chased it away. But then he's like, what if they don't bring me back? And she's like, but the magistrate said that they'll bring you back on Saturday. And his word is the law. We obviously know from reading the rest that like that doesn't actually happen. But the last sentence where she says like she's fully aware of the fact that the magistrate has a lot of power. And that what the magistrate says is what goes. And that he sort of like, if he says something and you contravene it, you will be punished. Selling sê dat Benjamin die magistraat wel edele heer moet noem. Selling was al in die tronk, maar Fila sê vir Benjamin dat hy het glad nie mag noem nie. So this is also important. Selling says, instead of just calling him my heer, which is like, my sir, is call him wel edele heer, which is like honorable sir. It just sounds fancier. And, Benjamin just asked, like he says, because you were in jail that you know how to say this. And Fila was like, please don't tell them that Selling was in jail. We don't know why Selling was in jail, and we don't know why Selling was arrested. But yeah, they just say like Benjamin should not mention anything about that. At the end, I'll do the second act a little bit later on. I hope this helps you. It might be a little bit long, but I hope it does help you. Okay, tot ziens almal.